You know, it never ceases to amaze me the amount of absolute lies that happen in the gaming industry, especially with what we saw yesterday, and even then, what we've been seeing in the past. Don't worry, go ahead and get out those tinfoil hats, because baby, we got a big one today. It turns out that so many things have been happening in the gaming space and being called out on, while everybody else who's an actual customer consumer, and dare I say even a gamer, has been being gaslit to hell and back every single time. Being called toxic, being called trolls, being called machuds, all in the space of trying to defend an actual industry that is doing nothing more than providing you nothing but slop on a consistent basis. And I think yesterday's news is going to absolutely prove it. And it's not just the fact that yesterday showed up a lot of issues with, especially on the Game Awards, but it shows a massive concern with what's happening right now in the gaming space itself. YouTubers, influencers, websites, gaming journalists, all going around and getting back pocket deals and getting told to promote something whether or not they like the product or not has been a massive concern. Hell, that's why 12 years ago we already had Gamergate, and now it turns out we're doing part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And I know people are going to be like, oh, he's going to go, he's going to be a chud. Look, I've never been political on this channel. I don't intend to be political. My entire point is the absolute insanity and lies and lack of transparency happening in the gaming space today. So do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen, get out that tinfoil, make yourself that hat, because when you see how far this rabbit hole goes, you're going to be shocked about the entire thing. Because Wario64 on Twitter yesterday said this: GameFile reports that Tencent was the undisclosed lead financial backer of Wildlight Entertainment's Highguard. Oh, we're starting off with a bang now, aren't we? That's right. Remember when Jeff Keighley got on stage so happy and excited to talk about this brand new game that's gonna change the industry, make everybody so excited? All the tweets talking about like, you're gonna owe me an apology. I can't wait to show you guys this game. Hell, here's him even saying it himself.
Tonight, you're not only gonna get the announcement of the game, but also your first look at the gameplay. I've played it, and after you see this trailer, I think you're going to want to as well. Welcome to Highguard.
And it turns out that every single person that called this game out was absolutely 100% right on the money. We are literally seeing at this very moment in time a massive conglomerate corporation like Tencent secretly financially backing Jeff Keighley and Wildlight Studios and Highguard all at the same time to promote their own games. Ooh, man, it gets good and it gets even crazier, because the problem is that Tencent's entire grubby claws are injected incredibly deeply into Jeff Keighley and every single promotion that he does. Don't worry, this is all gonna make sense, and when it does, get that tinfoil hat ready. You see, because back in 2016 of November, Polygon wrote this article saying this: the Game Awards just found an extra 1.5 billion viewers. QQ, WeChat, and Tencent News. Oh, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you reading what I'm writing? Are you catching what I'm throwing? Are you eating what I'm cooking? Oh yeah, it's gonna get real wild, because the article even tells us a lot more. So let's keep going. With the article from Polygon saying this: Chinese multimedia giant Tencent plans to air a live localized version of the show across the country using a number of platforms, including its instant messaging QQ and WeChat services. Those two alone have about 1.5 billion active users. The program will be translated live, and viewers in China will be able to vote on a special Fans' Choice Awards using the Tencent News app, with the winner announced during the global broadcast. The partnership between Tencent and show creator Jeff Keighley provides an interesting way for the games industry to access a market it has long struggled to address directly. Oh, we're just scratching the surface, baby. It's only just begun. That was 10 years ago, and ever since then, there have been insane issues happening with the Game Awards specifically. Have you ever noticed that every time a Fans' Choice or Player's Choice Award game comes up, and something like Wuthering Waves or anything that's partially owned by Tencent seems to either be nominated or in fact win the actual award? Really makes you think now, doesn't it? And also, isn't it very interesting as well that for the last few years, every time something occurs with Geoff Keighley, Tencent is somehow always involved. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. Here's Madam Savvy on Twitter saying this: if you're wondering where you saw these connections prior, think back to Gamescom 2024, and at the very same event, the winner of an award at the non-award show goes to none other than Tencent Games. Why? There is a pattern of behavior and gaslighting on, and we shouldn't trust them. Gamescom has an environmental portion where they give away the Sustainability Award, a whole segment dedicated to the UN, which is funded by mostly the USA. And if you don't remember, here is in fact the announcer talking about the Sustainability Awards, saying that the winner is in fact Tencent during Gamescom, which is in fact not an award show, where Brent Irvin, the vice chairman, literally got on stage and accepted an award at Gamescom. Oh, man, but we're not even close to being done yet. No, not at all. This entire thing gets even deeper and crazier because the involvement of Tencent into the actual Game Awards isn't truly known to the public, or it's kept around in secret and not truly advertised. Because remember a few years back, there was this entire segment at the Game Awards talking about how this one scrappy YouTuber was helping people go ahead and get jobs on the internet from the actual gaming industry that were laid off. Yeah, it turns out that that guy also worked for Tencent too. No, I'm not kidding. Geoff Keighley's The Game Awards honored Amir Sadvat as a folk hero for laid-off developers. In reality, he is a Tencent executive who runs a glorified unemployment list. Don't let it all fool you, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. The entire time they presented this guy as some wholesome little dude who was just doing things on his own to help all these people get jobs. And in reality, he was being funded by one of the biggest conglomerate corporations on the actual planet. But you see, that's just a taste of the beginning if you really want to take a deep look into this. And it turns out that there's more information according to IGN with the actual article and Stephen Tottilo's information talking about Tencent actually backing Wildlight Studios. You know, that little indie development team that was shunned away by big AAA to make the game they've always wanted to make, even though it was just a rehashed game of every other AAA stuff you've seen before already, and everybody could smell it a mile away? Yeah, it turns out they weren't indie at all. Here's what the article from IGN said. With the article from IGN saying this: Highguard, the free-to-play PvP raid shooter, announced at the Game Awards last year and released to preemptive criticism and mockery only for most of its developers to be laid off just weeks after launch, was apparently financially backed by Tencent, according to a report. This comes from GameFile, which reports that the Chinese gaming mogul was the primary financial backer behind development Wildlight Entertainment, an arrangement that was not publicly shared by either company. Look, we're going to stop right here on the article because I want to be incredibly transparent and clear about this. The issue isn't the fact that Tencent bankrolled Wildlight Entertainment. No, that's not the actual problem. And I want to make that incredibly clear because a lot of the games that I play and the developers that I love and enjoy are literally either completely owned by Tencent or are financially backed by Tencent. Tencent has a 30% stake in Larian Studios, and they made Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. On top of that, Grinding Gear Games is also 100% owned by Tencent as well. Yet they are still able to make the best ARPG on the market right now, and at the same time still have massively popular and even great monetization practices as well. Digital Extremes is also owned by Tencent as well, and their game Warframe, from what everyone's been telling me, has some of the best monetization practices and content surplus people have been actually telling me. So clearly, just because something is backed by Tencent doesn't mean it is immediately bad or going to be incredibly predatory. The difference is whether or not those specific people and those specific developers are still able to have creative control on the kind of games they want to make. And clearly, this isn't the case with Wildlight Studios. They did not leave AAA to go ahead and make the game they've always wanted. They in fact left AAA to get financial backing, pretend they were an indie game studio, and then use the guise of being indie to then sell you a product as if it's their life's work and their passion project that they've always wanted to make, when in reality, they've always been part of the market. They were being financially backed, and they were lying to your face, and so was Geoff Keighley. with the article saying this: prior to this report, it was unclear who was funding Wildlight, despite Highguard seemingly being in development for a number of years prior to its announcement at the Game Awards in December. Its official LinkedIn page has long included the line that Wildlight is a, quote, a new fully funded entertainment studio. It remains unclear how heavily reliant Wildlight was on Tencent, or whether a decision to pull funding was made at some point that led to the mass layoffs. Wildlight's future as a studio also remains unclear, with the studio statement saying that it would retain a, quote, core group of developers to keep Highguard going. However, the game's website went offline earlier today and has yet to be restored, leading some to speculate that the game or even the studio is about to be fully shut down. And you know what? They're not wrong, because at the time of this recording, the website is in fact still offline. And even then, when you go to Wildlight Studios' own website, there's basically nothing there. Just an entire contact us page and nothing else in between. An entire barren ghost town. And here's the reason why I'm so incredibly upset about the entire thing. Not because Tencent was backing a company like Wildlight. No, it's the fact that people like Jeff Keighley got on stage, stammering, stuttering, shedding a tear for the developers, talking about how great this game is going to be, putting them at the last spot, giving them the entire like, oh, we're going to support you guys, when in reality they were nothing more than a corporate plant. Literally, the meme of Jeff Keighley being that corporate plant is entirely real. And I can even go farther than that, because every single person, influencer, YouTuber, game journalist that showed up on this highlight reel being flown out to the Highguard Studios to go ahead and play the game and then shill for the actual product the entire time are nothing more than corporate plants themselves. They're literally paid and bought for by the gaming industry, and they call you toxic, they call you chuds, they call you horrible, they call you all these things to gaslight you into believing that you are not seeing what in fact you are seeing. And when you call them out, they get incredibly defensive about it. It's almost like you're hitting the nail on the head every time you do so. And I want to go even further with this as well, because remember that entire Joshi Poo guy on Twitter that made that super incredibly cringe article online on X talking about how, oh, I had to leave AAA to get away from all the horrible things that happened. Well, it turns out his account was deactivated. I wonder why. And it's even worse because I was able to get snippets of what he actually said. And when you see this news and what was said, things can make a lot more sense. Many of Wildlight's former devs will now be forced to assimilate back into the actual corporate industry. Many gamers accused Wildlight of being a part of. Now, every time someone thinks about leaving the golden handcuffs behind in favor of making a new multiplayer game, the indie way, they'll say, quote, but remember how gamers didn't even give Wildlight a chance? Soon, if this pattern continues, all that will be left are corporations, at least in the multiplayer space. Innovation is on life support. Oh, the lies, the lies, the lies, the lies. It's always the lies, literal corporate plants. That Joshi Poo guy was trying to tell you how they were this struggling indie studio, you guys. We had no real backing. We weren't part of the industry. We're not a plant, we swear. Yet in the background, they're being funded by Tencent secretly with nobody else knowing. And the one thing they did instead of actually blaming themselves is they turned around and blamed you. I just blame the gamers. We're the problem, apparently. Not the corporate interest, not the fact that you were, in fact, an industry plant, not the fact that you had Jeff Keighley in your side and in your pocket as well, and you used Tencent money to fund your studio and claim to be indie. Oh. It can't get any sweeter now, can it, ladies and gentlemen? I submit that it cannot. This is going to be the biggest fall for the Game Awards and the Jeff Keighley that we've honestly ever seen. The entire industry is literally being bankrolled by just a few companies. And if it doesn't pass the sniff test, you're probably right. The majority of the time when you see something that is just basically corporatized, sanitized, not provided any sort of new style at all to it, or just giving you the same exact slop you've played before, more than likely, they're in fact being backed by a massive conglomerate corporation and being passed off to you as indie. And I love my gaming brethren right now, because everybody who saw this coming knew exactly what it was. Corpo slop. And we all called it out from the very beginning. And anyone who stood in your way should be looked at twice, side-eye basically. And the thing is, it's going to keep getting worse though, because now they know the entire thing has been exposed, their plans brought to light, and they're going to get even better while doing it, sadly. Because the reunion on Twitter said this: "I'm telling you, these award shows are not what they seem. It's a fun little show and tell for those in the industry. A giant LinkedIn, if you will, showing a picture of the actual people on the board of advisory, which include the senior vice president of Tencent, Stephen Ma, and CEO of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot." And Kelsky on Twitter also says this: "So then all that stuff Jeff Keighley talked about for Highguard's announcement, the power of indie studios and self-publishing, you know, the little guys pushing the industry forward, yada yada, all just bullshit, Lamau." That's right, my brother in Christ. That's exactly what it is. All complete bullshit. Everything that they're telling you, everything Jeff Keighley's ever said has been an absolute lie. Everything in the gaming industry has been nothing more than, in my opinion, a massive money laundering scheme. Ever wonder why all those games came out broken, buggy, full of issues and problems, or a really horrible art style, or even not catering to gamers? Don't forget the 12-year-ago promise of gamers don't have to be your audience anymore. It almost feels like the entire thing was literally doing nothing more than money laundering between game journos, influencers, and the gaming industry all themselves. This thing is on an entire house of cards, and it's getting worse by the actual minute, because the more this comes to light, the more this goes to show that people like Jeff Keighley are in fact part of the meme, the actual industry plant. Seeing as how Jeff Keighley worked with Tencent to get more viewers for his show in China specifically, seeing as how the SVP of actual Tencent is part of the board of advisory, seeing Jeff Keighley give awards to Tencent executives for no particular reason, tried to pass them off as the good guy or the little guys, is the real problem overall. They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and I swear to God, I feel like a conspiracy theorist, but if you really want to take a gander about the entire thing, being a conspiracy theorist in 2026 is like having a 1,000 batting average. And again, I do not have a problem if a game company or developer or studio is being backed by Tencent or another major company and corporation. That's fine. I love Path of Exile. GGG is owned by Tencent. That's not going to stop me from playing their game. What will stop me, though, is when they decide to change their perspective and how they monetize users or how they provide content. That's going to be the bigger issue. You see, a development studio can be backed by something like Tencent or have an indie publisher or a smaller studio, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody's going to care if the game is actually good. The problem is when you lie to the actual audience and you tell them you're indie, you're small, you're just a team trying to break away from AAA, and the game you make is nothing more than AAA slop with the literal Focus M voice line given to you when you open the wrong colored chest in the tutorial of Highguard. Ooh, don't think I didn't catch that one. And then you turn around and blame the literal users who went ahead and played your game to 100,000 concurrent players, and you were the problem trying to blame the actual people who you wanted to go ahead and support you financially. That's where I have the issue. That's where the real problem becomes, and that's why this needs to keep happening. More of this needs to be brought to light, and the gaming industry has to face the repercussions of putting down industry plants and trying to gaslight actual gamers who want to go ahead and just give the fucking money to the studios and play a goddamn good game for about an hour and a half every night after going down to the goddamn wage cage. I'm incredibly sick and tired of this gaming industry. I'm honestly up to here with it, with the issues with AI, with the issues with everything else, the rising cost of games, the rising cost of hardware, equipment, consoles, PC parts, GPUs, SSDs, and RAM, making everything almost impossible, and the insane push towards having service online and having nothing and being happy. That's what really pisses me off the most. How every studio wants to be this AAA thing, give you this live service product, when in reality, you can only afford to have 1 or 2 live service games in your life at any specific time. And the thing is, what really gets the veins in my neck bulging and the blood pumping with my vascularity is that exact fact. It's the gaslighting that really sets me over the edge. Like the whole feeling of like, I'm not crazy. Am I crazy? What's going on with this? Why do I feel crazy? And that's literally exactly what this industry has been doing, using journalists, using influencers, using industry plants like Jeff Keighley to go through and force games down your throat, when in reality, they're being backed by companies like Tencent. It's incredibly shameful. It's honestly disturbing and truly goes to show that gamers themselves truly are some of the smartest people on the face of the earth, because we sniffed this out from the very beginning. We knew there was a problem, and we even made memes about it in a joking way, but in that jest was actually truth. Next time something feels fishy, that's because it probably is, and more than likely, they're being paid off because of it. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Did you expect this? Is this news to you? Or are you finally starting to wake up? And speaking of comments, here in fact is the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With 1x IceX Viper X1 saying this: the problem is these corporations think that we're all horses and they're going to take us to the pond to drink and overcharge for everything, and we are not horses. Ice Viper, you are absolutely 100% correct, and they're going to keep trying to do this every single time. And like I said before, if it doesn't pass the smell test, well, baby, you're probably right. But with all that being said, if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams on this channel, subscribe. We're on our way to 109K. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't worry. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by AITTS. It's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!